Hi, everyone. I'm Marshall Cohen from Antonini and Cohen Immigration Law Group. We're on Zoom today with Laura Lanzisera, a workers' comp attorney and founding partner of the law offices of Laura Lanzisera. Laura, welcome.
Hi, Marshall. Thank you for having me.
We're talking about undocumented workers and workplace injuries, and Laura has some important information to share. So we know that many undocumented workers have dangerous jobs in agriculture, construction, and service industries. If they get hurt on the job, what are their rights? And are they even eligible for workers' comp in Georgia?
Yes, Marshall. Undocumented workers are eligible for workers' comp benefits in Georgia. Workers' comp laws are meant to protect, not to penalize workers. In fact, Georgia courts have held that undocumented workers are eligible for workers' comp benefits, even when that worker had misrepresented his employment status or his immigration status when he was hired.
That's good to know. So are undocumented workers eligible for the same benefits as U.S. citizens?
Yes, undocumented workers are eligible for the same workers' compensation benefits. That includes medical, rehab, and wage replacement.
Okay, so let's assume an injured worker files a claim, and now everyone at his job knows he's undocumented. Does the employer or anyone else involved in the medical or insurance process have a duty to report that employee to ICE?
No, Marshall, there's no duty to report an employee under Georgia workers' compensation law.
So what about the injured worker himself? Do they have any problems against, do they have any protections against deportation or detention once they file a workers' comp claim?
Marshall, I don't know of any legal protections per se, but I've been practicing workers' comp for more than 20 years, the first 5 representing insurance companies and employers. In the past 15, I've been representing injured workers. And I've never seen an instance where a judge, an insurance company, or an employer has reported an undocumented worker involved in a workers' comp case.
So I've heard stories about employers telling undocumented workers that were injured that they're not eligible for workers' comp because of their immigration status. It's kind of a veiled threat. So is that true?
No, that's definitely not true. If your employer tells you that, I would seek a workers' compensation attorney as soon as possible so that person can help you file your claim.
Okay, so the undocumented worker gets better and he's ready to return to work. Does the employer have to offer them the same job they had before they were injured?
No, actually, Marshall, in workers' comp in Georgia law, an employer never has to offer an employee work back once that employee is released to regular duty work. But that's the same whether the employee is documented or undocumented. If the employee is released to light duty work by the authorized treating physician and the employer does not have light duty work available, then benefits will continue. The only difference arises between undocumented and documented worker in this situation is when the authorized treating physician has released the employee to light duty work and the employer has a light duty job available that requires documentation to perform. The example that we see most often is that of needing a driver's license. If a light duty job of a driver is offered to an undocumented worker and that worker could otherwise do that job, but for the fact that he can't get a license, then it is possible his weekly benefits could get suspended. But in Georgia, I have seen judges are less likely to suspend benefits if we can show that the employer knew that employee was undocumented when he hired him. But regardless of that, the weekly benefits, undocumented workers are always entitled to medical treatment and payment of an impairment rating, regardless of immigration status.
So what steps should an undocumented worker take if they're injured at the workplace?
Okay, the very first thing is report the injury. Legally, you have 30 days to report an injury, but I always recommend that you do that as soon as possible so the injury is less likely to be questioned. The second thing you should do is ask for medical treatment. If the employer has what's called a posted panel of physicians or a list of doctors, then you need to choose from that list. However, if there is no list, then you get to choose your own doctor. I would make sure that you talk to a workers' comp attorney as soon as possible. We need to make sure your claim has been filed with the state board to preserve the statute of limitations. And also we can help you find the best doctor to treat your injury.
So I've heard that a lot of times the undocumented worker that gets injured won't report his injury out of fear. How does that impact his friends and coworkers on the job?
Yes, if employees do not report injuries or accidents, the employer's entire workforce is put at risk. Employers do not learn of and correct dangerous conditions that have resulted in injuries. And of course, the workers don't receive the medical benefits and the income benefits to which they are entitled.
Okay, well, that wraps it up. Laura, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And we hope that you've all learned about how undocumented workers can get help when they're injured on the job. Thanks for watching, and we appreciate your support. Thank you.